Oh my god. What's up, guys? Another one from Onyx Void. And today was the interview. And I did so much prep to get to this point of work. I had to go to the MVD and, I had to like pick some clothes that didn't look completely shaggy. And like I said, I missed 2 days of day laboring work for this interview, by the way, because it would have conflicted with day laboring. So potentially, I don't know, $150 lost right there. Potentially. Not saying I wouldn't have got those hours in, but I could have. So, uh, TLDR, they said they don't call me by the. If I don't receive like any kind of notice by the end of the day, they just moved on to the next candidates. But getting into it, I hate interviews. I really do. And it's not that I understand it's a necessary evil. I mean, they gotta kind of fill you out and stuff, but especially interviews with big corporations, you can already feel if you've been around long enough and been to enough jobs like I have, you can kind of feel that they're about to pull the wool over your eyes. You know, first of all, especially with this corporation, they made it very, very hard to actually find any dirt on them. I'm not saying there's no dirt. Of course, it's the pay is not posted anywhere. Actually, they can pay you whatever they want because you will never know, no matter how hard you try to search. In fact, I don't even know if there was a job offered until I got there, trying to figure out what exactly I was being offered. Luckily, this is a local place, and I somewhat trust the name. But everything was legit. Hopefully, supposedly, I did meet with actual people, and I'm very picky about who I actually go and work for these days. I don't just throw my hat into the ring to some random people. No, it has to be something I know I'm qualified for, and someone's willing to reach out to me to see in person. That's really my requirements these days, minimally. Is if you're not in the same place that I'm at, you're not in the city, you're not, I can't come and see a physical location for you, you don't exist. Alright. This is what it is. You don't exist. None of this internet BS anymore. You don't exist. Especially with trucking. Trucking, as I've observed over the last few years, is notoriously terrible at cybersecurity. There's this information being thrown all over the place, here and there. Fill this out. I don't care. If you don't fill it, you don't get the job. It's this random site we're going to throw at you through your email. Just click it, bro, and trust us. And it's the most grating thing I can think of. Is just hoping for the best when you put your information into this supposedly legit portal that is not going to get taken to some data broker and then sent off to God knows where. And you'll find out 15 years later that, oh, your credit was bad because some guy took out a loan for a Nissan Sentra in the other side of the USA, Mississippi or something. Oh, man. But no, I hate interviews. It's terrible. And this interview was weird. First of all, said the interview was at 10. I get there at 10. I drink a bunch of coffee and I gotta go to the bathroom. Now I'm sitting there thinking, oh man, I gotta go to the bathroom. Should I leave and just come back? Because you're not showing up at 10. Gabriella's not showing up at 10. She has important things to do, even though she scheduled this whole thing. It's like, oh, God. And if you don't show up in time, if you don't show up at the right time, they're gonna be like, "Oh, you show up in time. You're not approachable." And they're gonna give you the rundown. But they can be as late as they want, you know. But like I said, I have a habit of showing up at places where they need me. All right. Now, granted, I find out at the end that they have 4 other candidates, whatever, yada yada yada. Gabriella lied. I have all the qualifications. I have the year of experience, not the 2 years she said. You know, um, my experience is recent enough. It's fine. You know, if they want to go with other people, that's their prerogative. I don't care. I need to move on. That just means you didn't need me. What I was trying to pry out of them is why, what happened previously that they had to go ahead and push a hiring fair for drivers. What's happening to the drivers? Is it H1B ones? They're just up, retiring? Is it old people retiring? Did you get a nice raid? What was going on? I couldn't figure it out, and they weren't, of course, going to be very forthcoming about it. But I I go into it analyzing everything that happened, everything they said, starting off with Gabriella not being on time, then pushing me off to 2 giant 6 foot tall, 6'5" managers that then come into the room to grill me. And Gabriella's just a ditch because she opens the door to a meeting room and there are people clearly in it. She walks in, goes, "Oh, I didn't know." It was people clearly. The glass is glass. You can see their feet through the glass. How did you not know? Gabrielle. I think Gabriella's just there, alright? Sometimes this whole interaction with Gabriella, and I've changed her name for, privacy purposes, but I think she's just there. She once she saw that room's not in, she sent me to the next room. It's fine. I sit in there. It's cold because nobody was in there. It looks more like a storage room. There's a bunch of hand trucks. Alright, and then she whisked me back to the same room after they vacated. And 2 giant 6'5" talls, big brolic, corn eating, whiskey drinking managers show up to grill me for what's not the primary interview, but just the preliminary. And why do they always have to be 6 foot tall? Why do all, even in Amazon, everywhere I go, the managers are always some super tall, lanky, giant people. Is it a manager thing? What is it? I never know. I've rarely seen anybody under 6 foot actually get a managerial position unless, they had the a certain disposition, just put it that way. But they get them, they grill me, and it's 4 questions. One of them, if you've seen the thumbnails, obviously illegal. Hey, give me my notes back. I wrote them down so I don't forget them, of course. And got my notes out. So, first question. Is there any obligations that would require you to take time off? Well, first thing I'm hearing is you're going to work me forever. Yes, they were talking something like 50, 60 hours a week, which I don't mind. I don't plan on being here forever, which is cool, but that just means I'm not going to have much of a social life if I ever get this job. But if you've seen the thumbnail, basically, you're going to be tied to this job by the hip. You're never leaving. They have great benefits, though, but you won't get to use them. Let's see. And here's another next question, and this question rubs me the wrong way. What motivates you? Now, come on. If you say, I'm here for the money, every recruiter knows that's not the right answer. So, it always stunlocks me. Even though I knew they were going to ask that, it always stunlocks me. I'm like, I got to make something up on the spot. And I gave some cheesy stuff like, man, I'm just trying to get by or something. But the answer. Why else would I show up at a job? Nobody wants to work. Which leads into the next question: what makes you want to work for this company? It's like nobody wants to work for your company. I'm just here for the dollars because I qualify for the job. Do you need me to work or no? Is that simple? It's like, oh man, I knew these questions were coming, but like, oh man, it just, why does it always catch me like a deer in the headlights? And it's not that I'm being facetious. It's just you have to dance around the answer that I'm here to get your depreciating asset for working like a slave, basically. And it never goes over well. It never comes off authentic or anything. It's just I wish that well, I don't wish. I know it's never going to be the answer. It's never going to be the answer that they're always obviously always searching for something, you know, very HR oriented. Like, oh, I just felt very attracted to your company because of an incessive need to be organized and pedantic, and uh, I just really love milking cows or something, and transferring the magic of transferring the item, the product to the customer, and seeing the customer's face light up with happiness is all I ever wanted. There's something like that. I don't know. I don't know what the heck. It's something cheesy like that. They want it, and I refuse to give it to them. I just don't. I don't have it in me anymore to go through these hoops. I'm strictly on. Do you want me to work or no? If not, I can move on, because how the whole thing, the whole phone interview with Gabriella went, I assume that you need people, because this is the first time. Like I said, I don't really put my information or resume or fill out any applications unless, like I said, very often. Even through this whole year that I've not had a job, I've only applied to maybe 40 companies max. And I know there's people out there putting out 6,000, 3,000 applications and hearing nothing back. But very unusual, but very germane to the topic. I put in one application. Well, I put in 3 applications. I got a call back the next day. Why is that? Because I'm needed. And they can jerk me around all they want. They know. I'm very qualified. I'm 100% match with this job. Not a cultural match, maybe, but 100% match with actually performing the function of this job. And, of course, what you're all here for, what's on the thumbnail, the legal question. Do you have family? AKA, do you have children? Are you going to be enslaved to this company? Do you have any outside motivation so we can exploit you for everything you got? And that's an illegal question. I should bring that up. Hey, I should report you to the, was it, not the Better Business Bureau, but yeah, the Better Business Bureau and the Labor Board for even asking that question. There's been many people on YouTube, I think Life After Layoff is one of them, that will kindly explain to you that if you don't want a job, if you just want to sue and get your money that way out of the company, you can just kind of, full on, record your conversations with the interviewees and then later play it back for whoever the authorities outside of the business is, and you can start a legal battle and you might win, which, which I'm not against right now, considering that, once again, you're going into a corporation to spend your time for a depreciating asset that will never get you anywhere. And it's an illegal question. It's just weird that they asked it. And like I said, I read into every one of those questions as, we want our slaves. We want a slave that won't leave the company. And no offense against them, they all these people seem nice, but it seems like the company's just very disorganized, especially Gabriella. Gabriella, do you know what you're doing? And I had to ask that like a couple of times, like, what is the actual job? You know, and they had to reassure me what the actual job was, of course, but now I have to go do a separate, you know, ton of research, a separate section of research to figure out how much it actually pays so I can ask the right pay. And that was why I hate interviews, because I know what's in store for me. And of course, if I get a call back, it's going to be 10 times worse on the next interview. I don't know how many interviews they plan on dragging me through, comparing me to one guy to the next guy, but I don't. I have very low expectations with this. In fact, I'm just I already decided to move on and cut my losses. Maybe this YouTube thing will work out. By the way, subscribe and like this post if you can, so I don't have to go through this hell of interviews and having to pretend that I want something more of a job I qualify for than what the job is going to give me. If you would, thank you. And I'll continue here, screaming into the void, hoping for better days as the AI consumes my information like everyone else.